Welcome, everyone. I'm John Ryan of SportsMemo.com, and I'm very glad that you took the time to watch this show. This is the Full Count MLB baseball show for July the 5th, 2022. We're coming back from an awesome weekend of July 4th celebration, patriotism, and winning bets. I'm pleased to have Jeff Michaels on the show today. And, of course, my veteran, longtime friend, Rocky Atkinson, who, believe it or not, is only 2 years older than Jeff Michaels. So we'll get right to the games, and we're going to start here with the Texas Rangers. They are at the Baltimore Orioles, who are not the Orioles of old. They are fifth in the American League East, but the American League East division, guys, is just a monster of a division. They are only 7 games under 500 at 37-44, one of the best seasons they've had in the past decade. They are 51-30 on the run line bets, which is outstanding. And over-unders, they favor to the under 43-35 with 3 pushes. The Rangers are also better than they've been in past years. And they have 37-41 records. So we have 2 losing record teams that are trying their best to get to 500. And this will be a fun series to watch, no doubt. Let's start with Rocky Atkinson and see where he's going to take us with some best bet money in this matchup.
Thank you, John. Definitely 2 improved teams here this year in Texas and Baltimore. Texas 37-41 on the year. Baltimore 37-44 on the season. Spencer Howard gets the start for Texas. He has an 18 ERA in all his starts this year. It was only one start, and he lasted 3 innings where he allowed a whopping 4 home runs. He has a 9.00 ERA in his one career start versus Baltimore, which was last year, where he allowed 4 earned runs and 4 innings pitched, and he allowed a home run in that game as well. Austin Voth is 0-1 with a 2.08 ERA in 3 starts overall this year, and he has a 0.00 ERA at home this season. Texas is 13-30 the last 3 years on the road when the money line is plus 125 to minus 125. Texas is 51-106 their last 157 road games. Texas is 24-60 their last 84 road games against right-handed starters, and Texas is 9-24 their last 33 games against the American League East division. Baltimore is 5-2 their last 7 home games. I'm going to play the home team here tonight. Recommend a small play on Baltimore.
I like it, Rocky. I like that side a lot, actually. But I have trouble differentiating between the Orioles this year and what I know them to be for the last decade. It almost feels awkward to bet on them at home. It really does. But it's a bright light for Camden Yards and their fans. Let's see what Jeff Michaels has to say about this matchup.
Yeah, this season looks like a little bit of a glimmer of hope for a Chris Davis career that's been off to a slow start with the teams that he's played with. But who would have thought that this Rangers team would have been in third place in this division at this point of the season? And not to mention the fact that they're behind Seattle and Houston, when a lot of people thought it would have been those Angels out there. But in the last 10 games, the Rangers have been pretty impressive. They're putting up 4.4 runs per game, and they're 4th in the league in home runs over that span, homering over 1.5 times per game. But Texas is just 1-4 in their last 5 games. But their best split of the season has been their night games, where they hold a 26-22 record, which is one of the times that Baltimore struggled this year, where they hold just a 21-28 record at night this season, which is one of their worst splits. Texas is 17-9 against teams hitting less than or equal to 225 in the last 5-game span. And one of the angles that really caught my attention was road teams that have lost 4 of their last 5 games with a marginal winning percentage between 46 and 49, taking on a struggling team that's only winning 38 to 46% of their games. In the last 5 years, that road team has won 32 of the 42 matchups, winning over 76% of the time. But you look at this Baltimore team, like you guys said, it's definitely been an improvement. And this is the difference between 5th place in the AL East and 3rd place in the NL West. The fact that both teams have 37 wins this season. And Baltimore's over 500 at home, just like every other team in the American League East. And the only team in the West that has a winning record at home or on the road is the Astros. But the Orioles offense has struggled immensely. They've played the 8th most games in the league so far, but they're 23rd in runs scored, 22nd in hits, 28th in strikeouts, and 27th in batting average and OPS. And with Hyde as their manager, they're just 4-20 at home off of 2 or more consecutive wins. So I do like a small one on the other side, actually, a small bet on Texas, in my opinion.
That's interesting stuff. That kind of makes me think too, but I'm going to say this, Jeff. Spencer Howard, as Rocky was pointing out with the, like he's a home run machine, a home run allowing machine. His K percentage is 37.5%, which is way up there. Walk percentage 6.3, but hard hit percentage is 70%. Average exit velocity 101.2. Some of the worst numbers on the card tonight for sure. And he seems to throw just fastball cutter. His curve it's terrible. It has a spin rate of just barely over 2,000. And to be effective to Major League Baseball, that spin rate's got to be up there around 2,500 plus. Do you have any concerns with his starting the game? And I'm wondering if the Texas bullpen is in good enough shape to be able to come in, say, the 3rd inning of the game if they need to.
Yeah, both these starters, I think it really will come down to those bullpens immensely, because you look between both the starters on both sides, their games that they've started this year have been limited. As Rocky said, I think Spencer's only started 1 game, and I believe Baltimore starters only started 3 games this season as well. But both starting pitchers are averaging under 3 or less innings per start this season, and Baltimore is last in the league in home runs. So home runs don't quite bother me. The bullpen will be the big question, I think, in my opinion, coming into this game.
Very good. Fair enough. Love the breakdown, gents. Let's move on to the second game. And this is one that caught my eye right away because, of course, it's the American League East. It's kind of like the SEC conference to me in football. The Big Ten. You just love those matchups. At least I do. Tampa Bay is 4th in the American League East. The Red Sox are 2nd in the American League East. All 3 of the teams, including the Toronto Blue Jays, would be the wild card teams right now with the new format. So it is possible to have 4 of the 5 teams in the playoffs later on this year. It's a low probability, obviously, because it's a long season, but we're just about halfway through now. Nick Pivetta is on the hill tonight. He seems to be having his way with hitters lately. 8-5, 3.23 ERA. Jeffrey Springs on the hill, 3-2 with a 2.25 ERA. Let's see where Rocky's going to go in this game, and I hope he's going with the Red Sox. But that's my heart betting.
Sounds good, John. You have Tampa Bay 43-37 on the season. Boston's 45-35, just a little bit ahead of Tampa Bay in the standings. Jeffrey Springs starts for Rays. He has put up some very good numbers this year. Nick Pivetta gets the start for Boston. He's 8-5 with a 3.23 ERA overall this year, 4-2 with a 2.79 ERA at home this season, and he's 2-0 with a 2.25 ERA his last 3 starts. Pivetta also has a 2.95 ERA in 4 career starts versus Tampa Bay here. Boston is 14-4 this year against left-handed starters, including winning 10 of their last 11. Boston's 16-4 at home this year. Win the total is 9 to 9.5. Boston's won 5 in a row at home. Tampa Bay is 4-10 their last 14 games against a team with a winning record. Tampa Bay's 1-6 their last 7 games on grass. And Boston has won 4 in a row at home against this Tampa Bay team. I'm going to recommend a small play on Boston at home here tonight.
Yeah, and Boston doesn't show any signs of regression, do they, Rocky? They're 20-6, 3rd best record in the month of June, and averaging 1.69 runs per game differential during that month. Only 3rd place to the Atlanta Braves, who are 21-6, and the Yankees, who tied a franchise record of 22-6 in June. So I think the Red Sox continue to roll, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that division lead in the American League East shrink to 6 or 7 games by the end of July. It just might be the Red Sox hunting the Yankees instead of the other way around. Let's move over to Jeff Michaels now and see what he's gotten golden nuggets for this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys too. I think I like this Boston. I like Boston to edge out this matchup, but we talked about this AL East, and it's kind of impressive. Whatever way you want to look at it, like you said, they could have 4 teams in this playoffs, and Tampa Bay's only 2 games back of second place Boston, but they're 15 games back of first place, the first place Yankees. But Boston's won 10 of their last 14 games, and in the last 10 games, they've hit for a better average than any team in the league so far. And on the season, you look at the powerhouse offensive teams, and the first thing that usually comes to mind is those Yankees. But when you look at this Red Sox lineup, they're 9th in runs scored, they're 4th in on-base percentage, and they're 9th in slugging percentage, but they lead the league in hits, doubles, and batting average this year. So this offense has just been nonstop. The pitching staff has been just as impressive, though. The team ranks 6th in ERA, they're 8th in runs allowed, and they're 5th in runs, or they're 8th in hits allowed, and 5th in runs allowed. And they take on Jeffrey Spring today, who, like Rocky said, they've dominated left-handed pitching with that 14-4 record against lefties, and they're winning by nearly 2 runs per game. And Nick Pivetta, the Red Sox started 0-6 in his first 6 starts of the year, and since then they've won 9 out of his last 10 to improve. He's 9-7, or the team is 9-7 in his starts this year. But I do even like a small little sprinkle on Rafael Devers to go deep. He hasn't had the greatest against lefties history recently, but almost half of his home runs have come at home, with under 45% of his at-bats coming at home. And he's hitting out 4.9% of his plate appearances this year, but he hasn't hit a home run since June 24th, which is 40 at-bats in the last 9 games that he's gone without in a home run, where he averages under 19 normally. And these Rays teams have won 3 out of the last 4, but they're just 3-5 in the last 8. And while they're 8-2 in Jeffrey Spring starts this year, I think I'm leading Boston to take down another lefty tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you, fine gentlemen, on that one too. Nick Pivetta, by comparison to our first game matchup, his average spin rate for a 4-seam fastball is 2,325 RPMs. That's right in the top quarter percentile of Major League Baseball starting pitchers. Slider 2,285, but his curveball, the guy in the previous matchup was barely 2,000. Pivetta is almost 50% more at 2,720, one of the best spinning curveballs in the game. And when it spins that fast, you can't see that red dot anymore that was always the identifier for a curveball back in the days when Rocky and I used to play. And we used to walk to the games, and we walk home from the games when they were over. Right, Rocky?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I like Pivetta tonight. I think he goes at least 6. I would like any prop bet involving him, under in earned runs, under in hits allowed, whatever the case is for performance above his average. I would go with him maybe for a trio of prop bets. Let's move on to our third and final game here. The Minnesota Twins against those lousy Chicago White Sox. And I still say it every week, and I just don't understand what the heck is going on in Chicago, or I should say the south side of Chicago. But then again, the Cubs, they seem to be doing better. But the Chicago White Sox are supposed to be 10 games ahead in the division by this point based on preseason forecasts. They are not. We have Michael Kopech on the hill, 2-5, ERA of 2.78, and that sums up the White Sox right there. It's either home run or famine. And a guy with a 2-5 record and a 2.78 ERA should have a 5-2 record in my book. They're going against the Twins, who are the division leaders right now. Chris Archer was supposed to start. He will not be starting. And let's move over to Rocky, because I know he has some great information on the guy that's taking his place tonight in this matchup, and if it really changes the scope of this game.
Thank you, John. Yeah, you got Minnesota coming in 46-37 on the season. The White Sox 38-40 overall this year. And like you said, we've said it many times on the show this year. The White Sox team, they have underachieved so far, but I think this is a team that can put it together and have a strong run here down the stretch here. Josh Winder gets to start for the Twins after a late scratch for Chris Archer this afternoon. Winder's 3-2 with a 3.06 ERA overall this year in 8 games pitched. He'll be making his 5th start here tonight. Michael Kopech has lacked run support, just like we've talked about several times on the show this year. You said it a few minutes ago. He's 2-5 with a 2.78 ERA overall this year. He's 1-2 with a 2.08 ERA at home this season. And he's got a 0 ERA in his 2 career starts against his Twins club. Minnesota's 4-15 after a win this year. The White Sox are 4-1 their last 5 games against right-handed starters. The White Sox are 20-8 their last 28 games when playing game 2 of a series. White Sox are 9-3 their last 12 games at home versus Minnesota. I'm going to recommend a small play on the Chicago White Sox in this one.
I agree with you too, Rocky. The White Sox have a tremendous opportunity here to end the stretch going into the All-Star break and then to begin it. 17 games in a row they will face divisional opponents, 6 of which are against these Minnesota Twins. Even though they lost last night, they still have 6 more remaining in the short term here in July, and this is where they have to make it happen. I do like their batting stats. They resemble what Boston has done now, and Boston has transitioned itself away from hitting the bombs, and now they're hitting into the holes. They're hitting opposite field. They're hitting behind the runners and advancing them into scoring position. And that's why, as Jeff Michaels said, they're in the top 5 in doubles, triples, and the real stats that matter, at least in my opinion. So let's see what Jeff Michaels has to say about these White Sox and if they're going to get their act together starting tonight.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, John, pretty much. I was looking, these White Sox in the last 10 games, they've only hit 4 home runs as a team, but they're putting up 4.4 runs per game. So they're 8th in the league in hits, but they're 21st in runs scored on the season, which bounces back to being the 5th best team in batting average, but having a losing record. So, there are some questions. I find myself actually leaning towards the under in this game. Even with Winder on the mound, he's actually 1-3 over under in his 4 starts this year. And these Twins are 1-6-1 over under in their last 8 games overall. They've been able to put up some offensive numbers as we've all seen, but these White Sox are just 3-7-1 over under in the last 11 games. And Chicago's 11-25 over under at home against teams that are winning by a half a run or more in the last 3 seasons. And they're also 18-31 over under at home off a loss in the last 2 years. So Kopech's got some impressive numbers. And while he hasn't been able to pull out the wins, his over under record has definitely benefited or definitely shown what his ERA has done. He's 3-8 over under in his 11 grass starts this season. And he's 2-6 over under at night, where he has just a 2.85 ERA. And in his games against this division, he's got an ERA of just 1.35, with the total going under in 3 of the last 4, because one of them was a push in the last 5. So I like the under in this game more than I prefer a side.
I do as well, Jeff. And, the matchup is there. And the White Sox have an opportunity like no other team in baseball right now to take advantage of it and start playing up to their potential. Even if they play 80% of their potential day in and day out, they're going to close that gap, and they may even have the lead shortly after the All-Star break, if not sooner. So before I get to the final bet round, I wanted to mention that the $2 men over at SportsMemo.com are the illustrious Joe D'Amico, the Insider's Room, and Kevin Thomas, who appears on this show on a regular basis. Make sure you get over there. You can get all 3 of those guys for just $5, and they're very best of the best opportunities on the Tuesday night card. It doesn't get any better. Over at Wager Talk is our good friend and pal, Carmine Bianco, just one of the best hockey guys I ever know, but he's excellent across the board in all sports. Make sure you get over to Wager Talk and get on board for just $2 from one of the best, also in addition to the other 3 names. That means you can get 4 best bets tonight, $7. And you're talking about 4 pros that bet their money and along with you. And it doesn't get any better than that. Let's move over to the final round, which is our best bet segment. We'll start with Jeff Michaels here. Jeff, before you do your best bet, I want you to share with everyone what's going on over there at SportsMemo.com.
Yeah, actually had a pretty hot run recently, sitting in the top 3 in the leaderboard for the last 7 days. But I do have a big 4% play out today on a sides MLB play tonight. Get that for under $11. So pretty good deal to get alongside while you're checking out those $2 players on the sites. But in terms of my best bet today, I'm staying local. I like this Cleveland Guardians team in the first half today, and I'm going to take them on that run line. I'm going to give that half run to Detroit. I'm sticking with the first 5 because Cleveland has played a lot in the last 2 days. They lost both ends of the doubleheader against a Detroit team that they probably shouldn't have lost after one of the most impressive pitching performances from a Guardian this year, coming from Tristan McKenzie in that one hit shutout against New York on Sunday. But Detroit has lost a majority of their first half bets at home this season and as a dog this season. And the offense has just struggled immensely, more than the other teams that we even talked about. They're in the bottom 5 in the major leagues in runs, hits, doubles, home runs, RBIs, walks, batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage as a team. Ranked 25th to 30th in every single one of those offensive categories. Not to mention the Tigers are just 4-8 on the run line in the first half when they're coming off of back-to-back wins. And they're 8-15 on the run line as a dog against the division in the first half this season. So I like these Guardians to have the lead at the end of the 5th inning for you.
I love the bet. I'm going to join you on that one. That was very convincing, and I agree with everything you mentioned, Jeff. Let's move over to myself. I'm going to have my Major League Baseball 4%er best bet of the day up right after this show. And tomorrow will be another 5%er Major League Baseball. My models are pointing towards it. Not 100%. We need to have a result tonight, but it's not going to alter it, I don't think, in any way. I am 5-0 in 5% max bets and hitting 69% in all sports over the last 12 months. So that'll be up available later tonight for the Wednesday card. My betting angle of the day will be my best bet. And as Jeff mentioned, he liked the under. So I'm actually going with the White Sox. And I do think that I hate parlays. I don't hate them. I like them a lot when they win. But seriously, the White Sox and the under makes sense to me in this game. So we're going to bet on home favorites in an American League matchup, which we have here. We are a situation where the home team is starting a pitcher with a whip of 1.100 or lower in the season and is taking on a foe starting a pitcher with a 3.20 or lower ERA for the season. That translates to a 57-18 straight-up record for 76% winning under bets over the last 5 seasons and a 32% ROI, 43-32 on the run line, guys. That's minus 1.5. And I know, Jeff, I'm committing a sin here because your dad is a big-time professional analytical guy that advises not to take minus 1.5 favorites with the home run line.
Ooh. Looks like we might have lost John. But my dad would be opposed to that. But hey, if it wins, it wins. So, that's all that matters in the long run. So,
Definitely.
Rocky, looks like you're the last one. So perfect timing.
All right. Well, I'll go with my show best bet here for today. And before I get to it, I'll go ahead and say that I do have a top 4% Major League Baseball best bet loaded now at SportsMemo.com. And I'm on a nice 7-1 overall run, my last 8 picks. So hopefully we'll get another one there. It is a top play as well. And I am, let's see, let me bring my numbers up. I am 143 and 90, 61% my last 200 and how much is that? Last 245 top Major League Baseball plays. So getting the job done there. Grab that top play now. As far as my show best bet goes, I love the way you looked at the game, Jeff, with the Cleveland-Detroit matchup here tonight. I also like that side. I'm going with Cleveland on the money line for the full game here. We have Cleveland at 40-38 overall this year. Detroit comes in 32-47 on the season. Detroit won both games of the doubleheader yesterday, and I just don't see how this Cleveland team is going to lose 3 in a row to them here tonight. Cal Quantrill gets to start for Cleveland. He's 4-4 with a 3.72 ERA overall this year. He's 1-0 with a 3.48 ERA in his 2 career starts versus Detroit. Drew Hutchison gets to start for Detroit. He's 0-1 with a 5.19 ERA overall this year. He's 0-1 with a 7.94 ERA in his 3 career starts versus Cleveland. Cleveland is 13-5 their last 18 games against teams with a losing record. Detroit's 4-9 the last 13 games against right-handed starters. Cleveland is 63-23 the last 86 meetings overall in this series. And even better, Cleveland's 41-19 their last 60 meetings when playing in Detroit. So I'm going to recommend a play on Cleveland for the full game here as my best bet for the show.
Great work, Rocky, as always. I'm not sure what happened to my technological breakdown. I think there was Martians outside my window again. But anyway, we'll move on to my best bet. And we're looking at those Chicago White Sox. And just like I backed the Phillies there not too long ago, I think they're about ready to roll. I wouldn't be surprised to see the White Sox as one of those top 3, top 5 teams for the month of July in terms of win percentage, just like Boston, the Yankees, the Braves, and the Phillies did in June. And I think this is their moment. And if it's not their moment, then there's going to be some massive changes made. And who knows, they could end up being sellers at the trading deadline. But for now, I think this is the most undervalued team in baseball. And they have the talent and the players to get it done. On my betting angle of the day, we have a situation where we're going to bet on home favorites in an American League matchup. And our home team is starting a pitcher with a whip of 1.100 or lower for the season. And we're taking on a foe that is starting a pitcher with a 3.20 or lower ERA for the season. 57-18 straight up and under the total. So it's the same for both, believe it or not. That's the last 5 seasons. That translates to 32%. So I agree with Jeff's first 5 under for sure. Under for the full game, but my best bet here for this show is the money line. I really don't want to play around with that -1.5 run line, even though 43-32, 57% plus 130 wager, and that's what makes it so darn attractive. 25% ROI. I'm just going to stick with the money line, guys, and roll with the Chicago White Sox. And you might see me in the premium plays for my clients. You're going to see the White Sox, I think, quite a bit here over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that brings us to the end of the show, gentlemen. Again, I apologize for my whatever that was. The browser said it wasn't my fault, so it looked like somebody controlled my my browser or something. It was pretty weird, but it all worked out as always it does. My old buddies, that's nice of you to join our show. It means a lot. So, any final thoughts here, Rocky, before I let you go?
Just looking forward to hopefully another top play winner here tonight, and good luck to you guys as well.
Jeff, any final words of wisdom for everybody?
Yeah, I was just going to comment on that last comment that you made out is that La Russa, hey, betting with your head and your heart are definitely 2 different things, but for a Cleveland fan, I love La Russa, but hey, maybe that's what's got to go to make that change. So we'll see. But best of luck to those $2 cappers, and best of luck to you guys with all those plays out tonight too.
Yeah, I guess as long as he's not manning the phones to the bullpen, I feel pretty good about the White Sox tonight.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for your time, gentlemen. We're going to be back tomorrow with another edition of the Full Count Show. We will have Joe D'Amico hosting the show. And don't forget the $2 guys, Joe D'Amico today, the Insider's Room, and Kevin Thomas at SportsMemo. You can get all 3 of them for $5. Add $2 more but get Carmine Bianco's play over at Wager Talk, and you'll be glad you did. So that'll do it for today's show, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And always, my pearls of wisdom are 2 things. You're going to always promise to bet over. You're going to promise to bet with your head, never over it, and may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching, guys.